topic of discussion is a basal ganglia. So what is basal ganglia, and what is the location of the basal ganglia, and locations mean where it is located, and what are the major functions of the basal ganglia, and how it influences the motor and sensory function of our body. So basal ganglia is basically masses of a collection of gray matter located in the cerebral hemisphere. About 90% of the motor fibers passes to the cerebral cortex through the basal ganglia. So basal ganglia is basically consists of 5 nucleuses, in which it includes the choroid nucleus, putamen nucleus, globulus pedulus, subthalamic nucleus, and substantia nigra. So it's basically make a network among these. Anatomically, these nucleuses are not connected with each other, but they have make some special connections. So this by which they are connected. Connection, maybe they are electrically connected, or maybe they are neurotransmitters which make the connection between these nucleuses. So basically they work like association with cerebral cortex, like they have to associate the cortex in many motor activities. We will discuss later on this lecture. The first I will give a general introduction about the basal ganglia, then we discuss about the pathways, and after all we will discuss about the diseases and the abnormalities which are.
So where does this basal ganglia get their inputs? Basically they get their inputs from the cerebral cortex, and after passing through the various circuits in the basal ganglia, they went back to the cortex. So the output is also the cortex. So it means that they are getting their input from the cerebral cortex, and they are sending back their outputs to the cerebral cortex after their activity. Now we will see the a little bit about the anatomy where these all nuclei are located. So basically they are located around the thalamus. Thalamus is located in the brain. So we will see that these nuclei are located and in fact they are surround the thalamus and located lateral to the thalamus, lateral to and surrounding the thalamus. You can see the choroid nucleus have 3 parts: head, body, and tail, and it surrounds the thalamus. And the globulus pedulus is inside. Globulus pedulus have 2 divisions, like internal and external. So it's located inside, right? Now another thing is the inferior region of both cerebral hemisphere. So it located inside the cerebral hemisphere. All the motor and sensory fibers, almost 90% of the fibers passing through these basal ganglia to the cerebral cortex, vice versa. Now in this slide we see that exact location of the nuclei. You can see the putamen nucleus. In fact they are not anatomical connected with each other, but we can say they are physiological connected with each other. You can see the putamen nucleus and to both sides, and then there's you can see the thalamus, and they actually surround the thalamus, and there is choroid nucleus and substantia nigra, subthalamic nucleus, globulus pedulus inside to the putamen nucleus. So we will study now what is the putamen circuit. And putamen circuit means the cerebral cortex, then through the putamen nucleuses, and then where these how this circuit is formed. Before discussing this, I will show the diagram of this one. You can see there is the cerebral cortex, and these red arrows are going this solid lines. They are passing from the prefrontal, premotor, and primary motor area and supplementary motor area. So they are basically the division of the cerebral cortex into the several areas, and the inputs from these areas go to the putamen nucleus. So you will notice here is the dotted line. I will discuss this dotted line later on, but I will give you a little bit touch about that. They get their input few of their input from the primary motor, and the rest of their input from the accessory areas within the cerebral cortex, and very few fiber from the primary motor areas. And then they go to the putamen nucleus. From the putamen nucleus they goes to the external globulus pedulus. Be remember that not internal globulus pedulus, they goes to the external globulus pedulus. And then from there they go to the basically they go to the subthalamic nucleus, and after all they go to the thalamus and little bit relay in the thalamus. Then finally they terminate into the primary motor areas. And you will see there is another circuit, that's ancillary circle, the fibers circuit, and these